The opinions and views expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Community Media of Staten Island. The Get Together is brought to you in cooperation with the Older Adult Center Networks and the Center for Lifelong Development, with funding provided by the New York City Department of Aging, and produced through the facilities of Community Media of Staten Island.
And welcome back to another podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Indifferent. To my left is Dave Frankel. I'm Reuben Warren. And to my far right is Mike Axelrod, who has decided to accompany us today on this ride. Now, just so everybody out there knows, we're very glad to have the facilities available to us at Community Media of Staten Island at 100 Cable Way. If any of you folks are interested in producing a podcast, if you have any ideas, please contact them. Their number is 718-727-1414. Now, Dave and I recently finished our second podcast, and we had a meeting, and we decided that we're going to try it, that we're going to continue this podcast until we figure out how to do it correctly. Is that right?
That's right.
I think that's what we decided to do.
If there is anything like that, such a thing.
I was just walking down the street, and this big black van came up, and they just put a hood over me and threw me in the van, and now I'm here.
Well, that was one way of getting audience participation.
Okay.
In the meantime, I know Dave has had a difficult time sleeping the last couple of nights, so he's got some ideas. So he's got some suggestions in terms of what we might want to discuss today.
And we all do, but one of the things, hello everyone, one of the things that bothers me, even though it's meant to be a safe thing for everyone, is the speed bumps on Staten Island, and not just Staten Island, I guess it's everywhere. The thing that bothers me is they're in areas near schools. I understand that. You want the cars definitely to slow down near the schools to protect the kids and the teachers and everybody else. But there were speed bumps in between on streets where you didn't expect to see them. And there should be a warning, and there are, that says, to some degree, it's just have to slow down, go over the bumps, slow down. And why that bothers me, I guess there's a reason. I'm not looking to be anywhere quick. I'm very careful. I'm very slow driver because at my age, I want to drive slowly. I have no choice.
So is it the fact that you see the speed bumps all over the place, that there are too many in the wrong places?
Yeah, and I have to, and you have to slow down, and I don't want to hurt the bottom of the car. I don't want the wheel, the chassis. If you go over too fast, you could the chassis can get knocked out.
No, you're right about the chassis. I read somewhere that they have a very strong lobby, the auto repair business, and they lobbied very hard for these speed bumps in order to create their own business and help their business along, because the cars these days are made much better and they aren't getting as much business with the alignments. So this is an alignment issue, I think, just to align the two types of things. But you're right about the speed bumps. I'm not crazy about them, but people do have to slow down, especially now we're driving big SUVs, we're buying trucks, very few sedans out there.
Right.
And before you know it, you just put your foot on the gas and you're doing 35 and they lower the speed limit and you don't realize how fast you're actually going sometimes. You feel like you're standing still doing 30, 35. So it's not a bad thing. But they should be marked, the yellow paint, there should be a sign before it letting you know, because it's jolting. It can jolt you and your contents in your car, the things in your trunk. And, I know the auto repair people want their business and they're, like I said, they have a very strong lobby. And it's, so...
Are you and you're serious? I thought you're joking about the auto repair people.
Dave,
I thought that was his way.
Dave, how long have you known me? Have you known me as a jokester?
Too long. The thing is, no. I thought possibly when you said that, it was your way of saying, it's kind of cute. They get money, they make money because. But are you serious? I don't know if you.
I'll tell you the truth. What I like though about the speed bumps, I like the newer speed bumps. The old ones go across the lane.
Yeah,
now
that's
they
true.
have speed bumps that are like pillows, right? They're only about 5 feet wide, and then there's a break, and then there's another 5-foot cushion. And what I do is, so they usually have like 2 or 3, right? There's not like one speed bump. There's usually more than one. So I go
around it. I do that
between
too.
them,
I do that
which
too.
is like going through, it's like a car race. You're going like this and like this.
Yeah,
so I get a kick out of those.
Right, there aren't that many places you can do that on Staten Island anymore, where you can go through like a chicane, and you can, like
chicane. I like that word.
to
I never
perform
heard of that word,
a chicanery.
and I have a
Well,
college degree, which
Well,
doesn't mean
You-
much
you
because I
took-
did.
You took the wrong
I
elective.
took the wrong elective.
But what I actually did read was that they put the speed bumps on some of these side streets now, where there are a lot of kids on the blocks, and that.
Yes.
They did that because people were avoiding some of the main avenues that now have speed cameras and red light cameras. So they're using the side streets, and they figured out where the side streets were adjacent to the camera streets. So instead of putting cameras and more those on the side streets, they put the bumps in. So they're trying to, you take one step, they take another step, and they follow you down because they're getting a lot more traffic on those streets now, those side streets. So because they don't want to be caught on the cameras, they don't want to be caught on the red lights, so they take the side streets. So the people living on those side streets say, I came to a nice, quiet street to have a house on here, and now all of a sudden I'm getting all this traffic because these people are avoiding things. We have to slow down this traffic because Johnny and Jane want to be able to play in the street and chase their balls
But
around.
let me tell you an interesting story about those speed bumps. I live at an intersection. It's a 4-way stop sign, 2-way traffic going in both directions. Over the last 5 years, we've had an influx of young families, a lot of children. So we've always had issues with cars going through the stop signs at this intersection. So 3 years ago, I went to my local city councilman's office, and I mentioned the issue that I had, and I said, is there some way that we could get speed bumps over there? He gives me a form to fill out. I had to get like 200 signatures, and he submitted it to DOT. 2.5 years later, I got a denial. Now, in those 2.5 years, we have more young families living in the neighborhood.
Sure.
And the surrounding streets in my neighborhood, a lot of them now have speed bumps. So a couple of months ago, I had there was a police car parked in front of my house giving out tickets, people going through the stop sign. And I spoke to the patrolman, and I told him what the dilemma was. He says, you're never going to get speed bumps over here because the city's making a fortune giving out tickets here. But
He said that.
Yes, but I was
Wow.
concerned about the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I have a security camera in my living room window. And last month, I caught 2 cars. One was a high school kid, I'm sure it was in a vet, doing wheelies in the intersection. And then somebody else just going through like 60, 70 miles an hour. They plowed right through the stop sign. I took a video. You can download videos off your security camera. I took it to the police station.
Good for you.
And I showed it to the patrolman behind the counter. And he said, what would you like me to do? I said, look, I have the license plate. I had the license plate of the vet. He said, look, next time it happens, call 911 and we'll send a patrol car down. I said, but by the time you guys come down, nobody's going to be there. You know what he did? He walked away after I said that.
Well, this doesn't.
Well, that's,
I'm sorry. I didn't want to hear that, but there's something wrong with that picture.
So 2.5 years to get a no, and they're freewheeling down the intersection.
I hate
Then I'm
when
not going to mention the address because then I'll get
That's right.
100 other cars doing the same thing over there. So you know what? The speed bumps are great. I think maybe the city should take a different approach to.
It's got to be another angle that makes a little bit more sense.
related to that, my son, who's in his 30s now, but when he was about 6 or 7, and when he was first learning to read and stuff, we'd drive down the street. He'd read all the signs and be happy he could read all the traffic signs, the store signs, because he was learning to read. So there used to be a sign, what they used to put up. It was a sign that said "Bump Ahead." All right, so this and that. So I would be driving, and all of a sudden, from the back seat, I'd feel something jolting something in the back of my seat. We passed one. I said, Sam, what is that? What are you doing? And then I hear another one. I said, Dad, the sign says bump ahead. So I'm bumping my head on the thing. So I said, that's not exactly what they're meaning. And those are probably the early type of speed bumps. But I was getting the speed bumps in the car when he was bumping his head on the thing. Fast forward 33 years, he has a very good job, no permanent damage. And it's so the head bump wasn't probably as bad as a speed bump. But
So the moral of the story is, don't worry if your kids are banging on the back of the seat. Eventually they'll grow out of it. And if not,
as long as that's learn to read. That could be a problem. That was his problem. He learned to read. What else do we have today?
what else has been keeping you awake, Dave?
Well, there was one we can't talk about because they might be deliberating the case, so we don't want to go into that. We'll wait. Remember, we discussed that. But the other thing is related to traffic and speed bumps is tickets. I did get, and I'm not trying to defend myself. I'm not defensive about it. I don't drive fast. I stay within the speed limit. I don't like to drive fast. I'd rather drive. Some of my friends don't like to drive with me. They say you drive like an old man, and I said, well, "What do you think I am? I'm not a young man, But tickets in the mail, you picture, they. And in front of one particular place where we have classes, this program is based on a class that we took in TV, production and TV, which is why we're here.
So was this a speed limit you went over, not a red light?
Yes, speed limit.
So you were over the limit.
Which was?
Well,
30.
Usually if it's 25 posted, they give you a 10-mile cushion. So you can do 35. Okay. Once you hit 36, that camera will click.
Well, then that's what happened. So I'm so cautious now. And when I slow down, there's somebody behind me, bang, bang, honking their horn.
I've gotten a few tickets, and they tell you it says 36 on the ticket, 37,
I know.
1 mile over, 2 miles over. And like I said, with SUVs and larger cars, and they're built better, and you don't know you're going. 35 feels like 15 in some of those SUVs and some of those small trucks, and it feels like you're standing still. But there's a reason for it. More people can survive accidents at slower. A lot more pedestrians survive, and more drivers have less damage at accidents at slower speeds. Once you get over those speeds, it really goes up.
I agree.
Injuries will go up, and fatalities are much more prevalent over certain speeds. But we just have to, our cars are now super powered, and they're big cars, and you don't feel it. Their suspensions are better made than they used to be. And 35 is just a tap on the gas. So those 36-mile-an-hour tickets, I've had quite a few myself. And
I'm glad. I'm sort of glad to hear it, because I thought that, I had 3 or 4 in the last 2 years.
I have a
in front of the place that
I've got but Dave, I have a partial solution to your dilemma.
What's that?
There's a new movie that just came out. It's F1. I don't know if you're familiar. It's about race car driving.
Yeah, I'm not.
You should go
why?
And see the movie. You'll get some of that urge to speed out of your system.
But I never had the urge to speed.
But between the speed bumps and getting speeding tickets, you seem to have this dilemma with going over certain...
That's good advice. By the way, they're doing another show in Studio B. You can go up now. So that's about it for me. Who else?
When you were a young child, if you don't mind me asking, when you had a tricycle,
yeah,
were you usually Did you drive ahead of the other kids on tricycles, or were you a trailer, or did you?
I was a
lead?
trailer.
So you were always slow.
I was slow. I'm slow in school, slow in when I went to school. When I went to elementary school, the teacher said he doesn't get his work in on. In those days, they didn't have a name for students who were slow or students who couldn't read that well. That's how old I am. They didn't know it. So open school night.
They didn't have that many words.
So my mother would come. Why are you getting your work? How come your work is slow? How come you get it in? I said, I just can't go as fast as the other kids. And the bottom line was the kids that got the work in fast went into the IGC class. I went into a 3 class, and that had a lot of emotional. I'm being serious, but it was. I can laugh at it now. I didn't go into the IGC class. I took an IQ test, and my IQ wasn't as good or as high as it should be to get into that class. And it's okay with me. I did okay. I only went to jail for about 20 years.
But I heard you had trouble spelling IQ.
Yes.
Okay, that's
okay. Moving right along. What do we?
That tells us something.
What else do we have?
So I had a. Sorry to jump in.
Well,
There was a brief moment of silence. So there was an item on the news recently that bothered me, and it had to do, and it's actually very timely because this is graduation season, right? You open up the newspaper, you have photos of kids going to proms and elementary school graduations and whatnot. So there was a high school graduation in Georgia recently at a local high school, and one of the seniors who had graduated during his high school career was working part-time at a local Burger King, and he was saving up money to go to college after he graduated. So it's graduation day, and he's with his mother, and where do you think they go after graduation for a meal? They went to Burger King, which is where he had spent the last 4 years working. And they're seated, and while they're there, the young fella notices that there's a backlog. You know, there are people waiting online a long time, and there's a shortage of help. So he goes ahead and starts working behind the counter. And while he's working there, a woman pulls up into the drive-through whose daughter happened to recently have graduated the same high school, and she recognizes the young boy and asks him what he's doing. It's graduation. What are you doing working here? And he explains, you know, they need help, blah, blah, blah. And she thinks that's terrific. So she takes out her camera and videotapes what's going on there with him working and puts it on her social media page. And before you know it, she's got like 20,000 hits. And she decides to start a GoFundMe page for the young man to help him with his college tuition. By the way, he wants to be an auto mechanic, so he wants to go to auto mechanic school. So originally she wanted to raise $6,000 in GoFundMe, and within 2 weeks, I think she raises over $200,000. That's a terrific story?
It is a good story.
What bothered me?
It's a lot of money, too.
Yes. So what bothered me about the story is that Burger King finds out about this, and the Burger King Foundation, in their generosity, offers the young man a $10,000 scholarship towards his tuition in school. Now, that bothered me. Now, I don't know if it bothers any of you, but I think that you've got a multinational corporation here with a foundation that's probably got several $1 billion there, and all they could offer this kid was a $10,000 scholarship. They should have at least said, you know what, we'll pay for your 4 years, buy you a new car, get your mother a house, whatever.
Are those jobs still available? Can I fling burgers for that? No, I don't know.
That bothered me. I mean,
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't bother anybody else.
It makes sense. It makes sense because tuition now is that 1 year is nothing. Tuition for 4 years is ridiculous. You got to be a millionaire almost.
What bothers me is they didn't have enough people to work there in the first place, and they let this kid jump over the counter and start serving burgers. Did they pay him that day for the work that he was doing? Should they have more staff on the first place there? You know, they're exploiting, free labor. I don't know. This, I'm not worried about Burger King. They're doing all right.
Well, no, I'm not worried about Burger King. I just think that in their wisdom, they should have, I think, been a little bit more generous towards him. Here, this woman raises over $200,000 from a multitude of people, and here Burger King is, like I said, a multinational corporation. They could have, I mean, and they got all this publicity
That's true.
out of it, right? I mean, imagine
That unto itself
what that is worth.
Yeah.
Just the publicity alone that they got from this story it was in the newspapers. It was on
So we're
one of
gonna
the wire
so we're gonna make
services.
this kid a millionaire before he gets to his first class because he jumped.
Well, maybe he deserves a cut of the pie for all the publicity that Burger King got out of this. I hadn't even thought of that, but
And he
you're
did
onto
it. He did
something.
it his way.
There you go, and he did it his way.
Well, that's a whopper of a story.
Yeah. Here we go.
All right. Well,
Everybody's got to get into the
look,
act.
the least they could have done was give him like free mustard for the rest of his life,
Well,
right?
you might have got one of those gold cards that they give out, like McDonald's or something. If you get that, you just walk into the store and you can get your food is free for life. They have a few of those.
Really, they have those?
McDonald's has that.
I don't know
where
anything
you can
about
get you can get a golden card for some reason. I've heard that you're entitled to it. It's like Major League Baseball players. Once you retire and you have so many years in, you get a free pass. The golden pass that Major League Baseball gives out to retired players after a certain amount of years, and they can go into any stadium they want. They get free admission to any stadium. And
I
you
didn't
show the
know
card.
that.
Yeah, Major League Baseball has that. You can
He
check-
knows quite a
check
bit.
that
He
out.
does. I have to
But
give
they
him
do have
credit.
that.
But
Do we
he,
have to?
it doesn't pay back right
No,
away.
I like cash.
I'm saying,
Small unmarked bills. But the credit,
can I just say one thing about Burger King?
please don't. No, yes.
Please don't, is right. When the competition started years ago, I remember I remember on Staten Island, there was one restaurant, a friend of mine, his parents owned the property. They didn't own the restaurant. It was, well, I can mention the name. I don't think, Wetson's. They're no,
Sure,
lo-
Wetson's,
they're no
sure.
longer in. And my friend's parents owned the property, so when they opened up on Forest Avenue and they opened up somewhere else, we could go down there and spend the whole day and eat as much as you want. It was wonderful. It was a big.
The folks out there should realize that we're all seniors, and this
Yes.
is a show that is produced by
Let's-
seniors, done by seniors, and because of that,
I'm in the wrong place then.
and
I'll see you guys later.
and because of that, we have a lot of experience between the three of
That's
us,
true.
right? That
That's very true.
unfortunately nobody cares about.
Which is why we should do this program even for the seniors. But if anyone else is viewing it or listening to it, we appreciate that.
We do.
I
This
think.
is true. But along the line of being seniors, there was an interesting survey that was done, and it relates to how you can tell that you're aging. What signs do you notice, or have you noticed over the years that you're getting older? There any
What signs? Like
I mean, I have a list here, but I'm curious to know what
stop signs or speed bump signs or
are there any signs?
We covered that already.
that's a sign of aging. My short-term
Walking in,
memories,
for instance, walking into an antique store and they don't let you out.
That's interesting. Did that ever happen to you?
No, not yet. But that's a sign of aging.
I'm going to tell you what. This morning, getting up and finding something to wear, I shared this with staff here, but I have to tell you this. I put on a pair of pants that I didn't wear until I haven't worn since last summer, and because I'm taking a medication, I lost some weight.
Well, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing until I put these pants on.
So
They fell down.
So aging. So this
So
was
I had to
an
get-
old pair of shorts
Right.
that you put on
Right.
that you hadn't worn,
Right.
or that you had worn,
Then I had to find a belt because the
and it
belt.
was an old belt.
It was an old belt.
Okay.
well, all right. So
And that's very important information. If people
so
are listening, they're
shrinking
going to know
is a sign.
shrinkage, shrinking.
The incredible shrinking Dave. All right. Well, shrinking. That was shrinkage.
Any
was-
other input on
Any-
signs of aging?
That makes more sense. Yeah, go ahead. Any other Go ahead.
Oh, I've covered all the mirrors in my house, so I don't really, I'm wearing constantly sitting shiva. It's a 24-hour thing. We just covered all the mirrors. We don't look.
Well, that's interesting because the only time I realize how old I am is in the morning when I go to the bathroom and I see myself in the mirror. Other than that, I don't look at mirrors during the
as
day.
long as you look in the mirror, yeah.
You must have a full-length mirror then.
In the bathroom?
Well, I don't know.
It's a good thing that I don't actually have a full-length mirror in the bathroom.
Okay.
But,
I guess we were looking.
But I find that one thing that does annoy me is when young people, I find, call me sir or mister.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because then I feel that sometimes I think they're talking to the person behind me, and then I turn around and there's nobody there and I realize that they're referring to me.
Yeah, I remember that. I knew I go to a lot of concerts. I still go to a lot of music concerts, rock concerts. And when I was 30 years old, I was at a rock concert. And I knew I was maybe a little too old for that concert because a fellow was trying to get through the row in front of me, and I'm standing there, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, can I get by?" Now, I still have long hair. I still thought I was pretty, not as old as I was, but he didn't call me bro or man or buddy or brother. He says, "Sir." I said, "What am I, a cop?" So I knew at 30 I was worried about getting old. Now I'm
Well, I know. What I find is that
112.
when I get on an airplane and I get seats, I try to get aisle seats. So this way, if I have to go to the bathroom, I don't have to bother anybody because I know I'm going to have to go to the bathroom.
No,
Oh, sure.
My wife and I, we do the same thing. When you're traveling, what we did was we each get an aisle seat across from each other. So I have an aisle seat,
Oh, that makes
and
sense.
she's on the other side, and she has an aisle seat. So, and then when we take off, we hold hands across the aisle. She puts her hand out, and we get looks
That's
and things
very-
like that. But that's what we do
It's very romantic.
because she likes to get up and she has to go, and nobody wants to be disturbed. If I'm in the middle, I have to get up and let her out. She has to let me out. So we each get aisle seats across from each other.
I sit near the window because I want to make sure the pilot knows what he's doing.
Well, you want to see that guy on the wing from
Exactly.
from the Twilight Zone.
From the Twilight Zone, that was William Shatner.
Yes.
Yeah.
His
Oh,
episode,
I
very
remember
famous.
that one. Yeah,
That was one of
right.
his episodes, and I will plug.
And by the way, and that is a sign of aging.
And I will plug
The
my.
fact that we remember that.
I will plug my upcoming class at
That's
the
good.
CLLD coming up this fall on
Good
Mondays,
idea.
11 a.m. I will be discussing the Twilight Zone and showing episodes.
And his classes have had great turnout. He does old shows or programs and the history behind it, and like the Our Gang comedies. What else did you do?
I did a season of Elvis movies. I showed all the
Right,
music from
Elvis.
Elvis movies. I did a class on Bob Dylan, all his lyrics and his things. So, but thank you, Dave.
No, it's true. I mean, it's
The check is in the mail.
yeah, the check is in the mail, but the people at where you taught the course said the turnouts were terrific.
No, I do get a lot of fun. Well, we like to think back to
I
the
think
times when we were younger, the things we shared experiences together through the mass media, through television in its younger
Right.
days. And a lot of the old people, we remember where we were watching those shows. We remember our friends. We remember our experiences. We remember sitting together. It's a form of community, and it goes over well, and people like to do it, and I like to do it too. So,
I'm glad you're doing it.
Well, I'm glad that we saved some time for you to give a huge plug to
plug my class.
to your new class coming up in the fall. And I think with that, we may have run out of time. So I want to thank Mike for being with us today, and maybe he'll come back at some time in the future.
Okay.
All right. So again, for those of you folks out there who are thinking about doing a podcast, you can contact Community Media of Staten Island at 100 Cable Way. The number, if you want to reach somebody and speak to them, is 718-727-1414. And till the next time on The Good, the Bad, the Indifferent, this is Reuben Warren, Dave Frankel, and Mike Axelrod.
Take care.
Over and out.